Imagine this. You're standing with 8,000 men, staring down a massive Persian army that could fill the horizon. Over 150,000 soldiers. Most people would surrender. But not the Spartans. No, their king, Leonidas, sends back the most savage two-word reply in history. Come and take them. Wait, it gets better. Alexander the Great's dad, yes, the dad of the greatest conqueror who ever lived, once sent Sparta a letter basically saying, "If I invade, you'll be destroyed." The Spartans replied with one word, "if." And my personal favorite, at Thermopylae, a Spartan named Dienekes was told that the Persian arrows were so many they'd blot out the sun. He didn't panic. He just smiled and said, "Good, then we shall have our battle, in the shade." So, were the Spartans the most badass people to ever walk this planet? Let's find out. And I warn you, after this video, you might want to yell, "This is Sparta," at least once today. First things first, who exactly were these guys? Sparta wasn't just another Greek city-state, it was more like a full-time military boot camp disguised as a country. From the moment a Spartan boy was born, his life had one purpose: to serve the state as a warrior. Weak or sickly infants, left to die on Mount Taygetus. Brutal, absolutely, but Sparta believed only the strongest should survive. At age 7, Spartan boys were taken from their families and enrolled in the Agoge, a state-run training program that turned children into soldiers. Imagine your PE class, but with starvation, beatings, and survival training. They were taught to steal food, not because they needed it, but because it taught them cunning. If they were caught, they were punished. Not for stealing, but for getting caught. And while the boys were trained to fight, Spartan women were trained to be strong, physically and mentally. They ran, wrestled, and were taught that their main job was to give birth to strong warriors. In fact, Spartan women were known for their biting wit. If their husbands were leaving for war, they'd hand them their shields and say, "Come back with it," or "on it." Yeah, no pressure, right? Now, pause for a second. Imagine that in modern times. You leave for work and your wife says, "Come back with your laptop," or "on it." All right, let's talk about what made Spartans legendary. Their encounters with history's greatest threats. 480 BCE. But Leonidas, king of Sparta, gathers 8,000 men, 300 of them Spartans, and marches to the narrow pass at Thermopylae. This wasn't just bravery. This was strategy. The narrow pass meant Persia's numbers wouldn't matter as much. When Xerxes demanded that Leonidas hand over his weapons, Leonidas sent back the now famous reply, "Molen lebe," which means "come and take them." The battle that followed became the stuff of legend. For 3 days, the Spartans and their allies held off wave after wave of Persians. It wasn't until a Greek traitor revealed a secret path that they were surrounded. Leonidas and his men fought to the last man, a sacrifice that gave the rest of Greece time to prepare. Fast forward about 100 years. Philip of Macedon, yes, Alexander the Great's dad, was conquering city after city in Greece. When he reached Sparta, he sent them a message that basically said, "If I invade Laconia, you will be destroyed, never to rise again." The Spartans sent back just one word: "if." That's it. No speech, no threats, just a single word that said, "Try it. We dare you." And here's the kicker. Philip didn't invade. And then there's Dienekes, the Spartan soldier who deserves a whole movie of his own. When told that Persian arrows would block out the sun, he just shrugged and said, "Good. Then we shall have our battle in the shade." This wasn't just bravado, it was a mindset. Spartans believed that dying in battle for Sparta was the highest honor a man could achieve. They didn't fear death, they welcomed it, as long as it was glorious. So, were Spartans really the most badass people in history? Well, they were tough, disciplined, and fearless, no question. But here's the thing. Spartan society was built on extremes. They relied on a massive population of enslaved helots to do all the farming and labor while they trained for war. They weren't exactly democratic or free in the way Athens was. But one thing is undeniable: their courage and defiance have echoed through history. Today, military units around the world still use Leonidas' phrase, molon labe. The story of Thermopylae is taught in military academies as an example of courage against overwhelming odds. And thanks to movies like 300, Spartans have become pop culture icons of toughness. And honestly, who hasn't yelled, "This is Sparta," at least once in their life? Don't lie, we've all done it, or at least thought about kicking someone into a bottomless pit. So, were the Spartans the most badass people ever? I'd say they're definitely in the running. Their courage, their wit, their comebacks, all legendary. But what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do the Spartans deserve the crown? Or do you think someone else in history was tougher? If you enjoyed this dive into Spartan history, hit that like button, subscribe for more epic stories from the past, and ring that bell so you never miss an upload. And remember, whatever challenge you're facing today, channel your inner Spartan. Stand tall. And if life tells you to hand over your weapons, just say, "Come and take them."